What does a wedding film look like behind the scenes? What all does it take to put one together? Well, in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you. So the film we're going to be taking a look at today is Gabby Andrews. I just filmed this one back in January of this year. I also brought along my friend Dryden from Wild and Rome as my second shooter, and I was really glad to have him there because there were multiple different locations involved, a lot of driving, a lot of going back and forth between places, and there were also times where I just needed to be in two places at once. For example, Gabby and Andrew got ready at separate hotels, which were about 20 to 30 minutes apart, so there's no way that I would have been able to make it to both on time to be able to film everything that I needed to put these scenes together. So that's something to keep in mind if you're planning your own wedding. If you're going to be in two separate places at the same time, having a second videographer might not be a bad idea. Alrighty, so once I have filmed the wedding and I'm back home or back at the hotel or wherever I'm staying at, I will lay out everything that needs to be backed up like I've got right here. And I will generally start with the footage. So how many cameras I'm using varies from wedding to wedding. Typically it's 3, but on this one we actually used 5. So I know that there's only 1 camera here right now, but 2 of them were Dryden's and the other 2 are being used to film this video right now. So once I've got my footage backed up, then I'll move on to audio. And what we've got here, this is for the toasts, but I'll put this in a mic sleeve and just have that on the microphone for whenever they're giving toasts. And this one I will actually hook up to the DJ's board also for the toasts or during the ceremony if we're allowed to do that. And then finally we have this little guy right here, which is a lav mic. And a lav mic actually just clips onto your shirt or onto a jacket. I've actually got one on right now. And I like to have these on the groom, on the officiant, on the father of the bride, on a brother, anybody who has a specific moment where the audio would be really great to have. And we generally will try to hide the mic. If you look closely, you might be able to see it here. So these are really great to help you capture nice, clear audio and really help elevate the film. Once I've got everything on the computer, I'll organize it all into folders so that I can easily sort through it when I'm editing later. But before I start importing any of this into the editing software, I'll make 2 to 3 more backups of it just in case something happens to one of them. So you can see here I've got everything broken out into the different parts of the day. We've got rehearsal dinner, drone footage, all the different locations that we went to, and so on and so on. So this takes quite a bit of time to organize all of this, but it is 100% worth it because this saves me a bunch of time later. But let's go ahead and jump into Adobe Premiere and we'll actually take a look at the nuts and bolts of the project. Okay, so here we are in Adobe Premiere and we're going to kind of break this down a little bit because I know that if you've never seen this before, this probably looks like a NASA control panel and you're like, what in the world am I looking at? So let's kind of break it down section by section. So what we have up here, this is our media panel. This is where I import all of the footage, all of the music, sound effects, different drag and drop effects, everything that has to do with media is all stored right in here. And then this window right here, this is our viewport. This is where we can see what we're working on. And then this section down here, this is our timeline. This is where I actually cut the film together. So whenever you first start a project, everything in here is completely blank. All of this is just empty gray. So everything that's down here on the timeline, everything here has been placed there specifically by me. You can also see here that we've got a bunch of different timelines and they're slightly out of order right now, but this just helps me keep everything organized rather than having everything all on one huge timeline. That would just be a complete mess. So I have everything broken out into these different sequences. So let's take a look at these. So you have here selects 1, 2, 3 is missing for some reason, but we have selects 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each of these have different parts of the day. So these different colors, those represent different parts of the day. So all of this orange, this is the rehearsal dinner. This green here, this is the rehearsal dinner toast that Andrew's brother gave. And then all of this purple is our drone footage, and the blue here is just some additional B-roll of the different locations that we were filming at. But then we've also got our ceremony, which is a huge project right here. And then we have our toasts, which is another big one. And then the vows, which is this little section right here that's been kind of cut down. So once I have all of those chopped up and ready to edit, then we can start working on the main film right here, which is our big compilation of all of those things. So all of the color on these clips has been done by me. So whenever the footage comes straight out of the camera, it does not look fully colored. It's usually more desaturated and gray. And the reason that we shoot it that way is to preserve the most amount of detail and data within the footage so that we can color it and do whatever we want to it later. So let's take a look here at an example. This is from the rehearsal dinner. So let me turn these off, and this is how the footage comes straight out of the camera. And then I add on a conversion, and then I'll do a little bit of extra color to just give it some extra pop. And then yeah, then you have your final image here. And you have to do that for every single clip on the timeline. So everything on here, all of this has been colored. So that is all of the video part. So now let's talk about audio. Audio is incredibly important. It's half of the viewing experience. So it's something that I pay a whole lot of attention to. So if we look down here, everything that is in purple, all of these are music. In this film, I actually had 7 different songs, and I have also cut up all of these songs. So these are not the full length version of these songs. These have been cut down to kind of fit the scene. And I licensed all of these songs from a website called MusicBed. Whenever you're using music in a project like this, or really in any project, whether it's a commercial or a YouTube video or a wedding film, no matter really what it is, you have to license any music that you use in that project. So all music has to have a purchased license so that it can be used legally. And it's all just a matter of looking through a whole bunch of different songs until you find something that really fits the project the best. So once we've got our music picked out, we also need to add in some sound effects. So a lot of the sounds in here did come out of the camera, but we also had a lot of sounds that were not real. So for example, this section right here, this is the end of Gabby's brother's toast, and then they're coming down and going into their first look, and we have the crowd cheering right here, and we have some camera snap sound effects, and none of that is real. All of that has been added in. We did of course have the audio from the camera of the crowd cheering, but that never really sounds very good. It's always clipping the audio and making it sound way too loud and distorted. So I'll add in some crowd cheering sound effects that are nice and controlled, and you'd never be able to tell. And finally, we have all of the audio that we recorded. If you remember back a few minutes ago when we were talking about all of the audio devices that we were using to record all of this audio, this is where that comes into play. So let's use Gabby and Andrew's first look here as an example. So we have Andrew wearing one of the lav mics like I'm wearing right now, and I think we did a pretty good job of hiding it. If you guys can find it on here without me telling you, then I will be pretty impressed. But anyways, these mics are super easy to put on grooms, especially whenever they're wearing a jacket like this, because you can just slip the little receiver in their inside pocket, and then the microphone itself will just clip to their lapel. Let's see if we can kind of zoom in and see it right here. So you can just barely make it out right there. It blends right in with his black lapel. But having these mics on people is extremely important for moments like these. We would not have been able to get the audio that we did if we did not have a microphone on somebody. And we also talked a little bit earlier about the toasts. So let's take a look at the toasts here. So you can see here we've got our audio recorder on the mic, but it just goes in this little black mic sleeve and attaches right to the microphone, so that we've got the recorder right up close to their mouth so you can hear them nice and clear. And then as a result, we've got our beautiful clear sounding audio. And once we have that audio, then I'll bring it into each of these timelines and I will sync it up to the camera audio. So you can see down here, these are called waveforms, and waveforms are basically just a visual representation of audio. So whenever the waveform gets taller, that means the audio is getting louder, and whenever it's lower, that means that the audio is quieter. So thankfully Premiere has a feature where it will auto sync all of this for you, and it does a good job most of the time, but sometimes you have to line it up yourself a little bit, but I'll do that for every section of the video where we were recording external audio. So the toasts, the ceremony, vows, first looks, any segment where someone was wearing a mic or where there was an external mic involved, I'll go in and sync all of those up. And once all of that has been put together and compiled into this great big long film, then we will come over here to export and I will export it out. And of course, the first draft of anything is never complete. So once I've exported it, then I'm going back through and I'm watching it, I'm taking notes, watching it on different screens. Like I'll try to watch it on my computer, I'll watch it on my phone, I'll plug it up to a TV and watch it there. I'll listen to it on different devices, listen to it through some headphones or through the speakers in my car, or I'll listen to it on my phone, just to help me see and hear different things that need tweaked. So I go through a whole lot of revisions, so I have seen this film many times at this point. So how long does doing all of this take? How long did it take me from importing all the footage to exporting the very final one? Well, it took me about 50 hours to put all of this together. And that's not 100% accurate, it's actually more than that, because I don't think that I recorded the time that I spent reviewing and watching over everything. So it's actually probably a few more hours than that. It's somewhere probably between 50 and 65 hours. So if you're ever wondering why it takes so long to make wedding films and to get them back, that's why. If your videographer really cares about your wedding film, then they are just absolutely obsessing over every single detail, the music, the sound effects, the color. We're scrutinizing every single little thing and going over it again and again and again to make sure that we're making the best film possible for you. But yeah guys, that is a behind the scenes look at a wedding film. I hope that you have enjoyed this little look behind the curtain. Hope that this has kind of demystified things a little bit of what all goes into doing this. And if there's anything that I missed or anything else that you're curious about, please let me know down in the comments and I will do my best to answer. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a great day.